Good evening. We have you loud and clear on the International Space Station.
Good evening. We have you loud and clear on the International Space Station.
All right. Greetings from Earth, gentlemen, or should I say from beautiful downtown Baghdad. First of all, I just want to say thank you for letting us be a part of this special event. Having two Army officers on the International Space Station is just great, and I'm here with a group of fellow soldiers, and I know they're anxious to ask you some questions, so we'll just get right down to it. All right. Questions? Sir. Captain Charles Sorensen from New Delhi. Sir, what do you like the most about being an astronaut?
We had a difficult time understanding the question, but we recognize that you're assembled there in Baghdad. We periodically fly over Baghdad. I've taken many pictures of it, and there's not a day that goes by when we don't remember the service and the sacrifice that so many of you are making over there in the service to our country and in protection of our freedoms that we too often take for granted.
Houston, Texas. Also work at the Johnson Space Center in Houston. How did you fix your water processing assembly that you had clogged filters with?
I'm sorry, we missed the question. I did catch that you're from Houston, Texas. Is that right? And could you restate the question?
Yes, sir. How did you fix your water processing assembly? You had clogged filters in it. And I also work at the Johnson Space Center in Houston.
Yeah, I'm not sure we understood the question. Houston, can you help? Okay, thank you. We're going to work on the audio here a little bit. I think that you can hear us just fine. As you probably know, I arrived on the space station the first part of October, launched on September 30th from Kazakhstan, not too far from where you are. And Colonel Creamer here launched about a week and a half ago, also from Kazakhstan. Both of us came up on Russian Soyuz vehicles. It takes 2 days to get here, and we'll be overlapping here on the space station for about 2.5 to 3 months. Colonel Creamer will remain on board after my Russian crewmate Max Sarayev and I return to Earth in the middle of March.
And while we're waiting on Houston to help us maybe with some of the echo and the garble, if you can understand us still, an interesting little tidbit is 2 or 3 commander ships down the line will be joined by Colonel Doug Wheelock, a 1982 graduate of West Point, which I think is the first time that we'll actually have an active duty Army commander on board and taking the high ground as best we can.
I'm really sorry. Unfortunately, the audio is just not coming through. So I know that Houston is working on it right now. Let me tell you a little bit about the crew right now. We're a crew of 5. with the arrival of Colonel Creamer and his Soyuz crewmates, we became a crew of 5. We were a crew of 2 for a few weeks. Prior to that, a crew of 6. The station crew grew to a crew of 6 back last summer in June. By maintaining 2 Soyuzes here on board. Each of them have 3 seats. That serves as our lifeboat, an escape vehicle in case we have to leave in an emergency situation. And we're getting close to the final assembly of the space station. We will complete its assembly in 2010 and transition to full utilization in this international partnership made up of the Russians, the U.S., Japanese, European Space Agency, and the Canadian Space Agency. And the Canadian Space Agency.
All right, sir, can you tell us a little bit about your holidays, how have your holidays been, if you can still hear us?
I got that question. How have the holidays been? The holidays been great. Actually, for Max and I, we've been here a while. We're halfway through. They were a nice, relaxing break to the pace that we have been experiencing since we came on board. These guys docked 2 days before Christmas. They brought, they arrived bearing gifts. It was great to see them. Of course, we anticipated their arrival for a long time, and we've had a relaxing schedule pretty much between Christmas and New Year's.
And one of the things that we can share with you is being away from family and friends at this time of year is unique for us, of course, specifically being on the space station. But thinking about you guys, we understand that you are also away from your family and friends and are bonding with the troops that you are living with, much like what we do here. This is our home away from home. You guys, of course, are elbow to elbow with your compadres there, and I think that is just absolutely wonderful because that enables us to do what we can do up here, too.
Thank you, sir. We'll go back to the Master Sergeant's question. I think the audio is working now.
Master Sergeant Schroll from Houston, Texas. I also work at the Johnson Space Center in Houston. How did you fix the clog filter for the water processing assembly up in the space station?
Let's see, the water processing assembly, how did we fix? I think you're talking about the urine processing assembly, right? If we fix that, we have not fixed that. So we're currently collecting urine and storing it as far away from us as we can. And we're having to take the water that we have stored on board in reserve and process that through the water processing facility to drink on board. It's an actually very interesting aspect of life here. Not a whole lot unlike the field experience that you have there, where you have to improvise a little bit and make do with what you have, and also get by and operate and live with less than what you otherwise would.
One thing Jeff did not mention is we only have 5 people on board right now, and we have 6 sleep stations. And one of the storage places for the extra urine is in that 6th sleep station. We just won't tell the next inhabitant that, okay?
And by the way, thank you for your service in 2 counts, both in the military as well as in the space program. Your service in 2 counts.
Hi, I'm Tim Donovan from the 32nd Brigade of the Wisconsin National Guard. Wisconsin, the home of Deke Slayton, Jim Lovell, and Mark Lee, among others. I'm wondering if the Earth will ever be the same to you after you've seen it from that incredible vantage point.
I think for anybody who has seen the Earth from this incredible vantage point, as you describe it, will never see the Earth in the same way. You know, when we're on the Earth, we see obviously very limited. In some places, we see just a tiny little area that we can observe at any given time. For example, I grew up in Wisconsin on a small farm, and I didn't have a whole lot of exposure outside of that, especially in urban environments. And of course, then you get on your first airplane ride, and your whole world changes.